Josh, I've got a good omen for this episode for you.
Oh, great.
You won't believe this.
Let's hear it.
I bought a 6-pack of Odell Mercenary Double IPA months and months ago. There was one straggler sitting in the back of my fridge. Opened it up today and I thought, you know what? I should drink that. I should finish that off. And I look at the bottom and guess what the expiration date is?
Is it today?
It's today.
Oh my gosh.
It's 11/22/16. This is the last day I could enjoy this beer. I just so happened to pick it up. It's great.
Incredible. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
you know what else
what?
you would love is the fact that whenever you sign into Skype, I set it to say, a good boy has signed on. But it's this dumb robot voice that says, a good boy has signed on.
I didn't even know you could do that. That's awesome.
I didn't either, but everything was messing up earlier today, and I just saw the setting. I was like, oh, I could have it say something when my contacts. Like, say anything. You could put in a sentence, and it'll say whatever you want.
Oh, my gosh.
So, given those, those are two great omens for the show this week. I feel like...
Great start.
Yeah. But I feel like you have to talk about the Patreon page right now.
Hell yeah. So, yeah, last week we launched and announced our Patreon, and some of you kindly responded. And for those who are late to the game, I'll just quickly say Patreon is a way of supporting the show in exchange for treats and rewards and exclusive stuff. And you can do it at patreon.com/inkandecho. Just like these lovely folks. So here are our brand new first patrons to support the show. And one of the perks is they get their name read on the show. So Levi McAllister.
Who's that?
Looking at you, kid. Heard of him. I've heard of him. Levi the Poet, maybe you heard of him. He did Oh Captain My Captain on YouTube. Orange Beanie.
Is he the one who ate a cigarette?
Ate a cigarette, yeah. Hits himself in the face with trash can lids. Boy, what else? Changes his glasses. He has like 10 cats. They're all named Gilbert.
Oh God.
Anyway, he backed our show. I know. we have Ian Eaton. Thank you, sir.
Ian Eaton.
Yeah, he is from outside the States, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. We've got Gabe Hobbs, who gave the most. In fact, Gabe, you've got a drawing coming from me, pal.
He got one of the early boy packages. There's only 4 left. No.
Only 4 left. Snag them. They're $10. And you'll be a certified good boy and an early boy. Mm-hmm. Certified good girl? That's sort of an option, but it doesn't sound as... If you're a female and you get the good boy package, you're still a good boy. I probably just shouldn't even go there.
No.
So a couple newcomers that were just before we started recording are Mr. Colton Anderson and Steve Burse. Apologies if I said your name wrong. And last but not least, the man who campaigned against Crooked Andy, Mr. Dave Mantell.
Yeah. And let me just say this. I uploaded a little 2.5-minute thing to the Patreon feed because there's a private RSS feed. And I was like, I'm gonna have fun with this. I'm just gonna upload not stupid crap all the time, sometimes stupid crap, but
enjoyable, silly
crap. Yeah, I'm gonna have fun there. And I feel like I wanna be there a lot, hanging out, talking to people. So if you wanna do that, go to patreon.com/inkandecho. And that's all we should say about it right now.
Well, I just want to say though that Dave Mantell, he's a political activist on Twitter, and he's rooting to get Andy kicked off of Inkandecho. So if you are if you're in agreement with that campaign, just hashtag Crooked Andy. And
that's not what I forget what the hashtag you said.
I forget too. I just loved it though, and it made me laugh really a lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now we got to get a little serious for a minute.
Do we really?
Yeah. Hey, listen, this is kind of like our, this show is Andy and I
therapy.
Exactly. Yeah, our counseling sessions, and I need to bring up something serious. I know I'm usually the serious guy, and it's, it's another one of those difficult things that's hard to say on the show, but it's like, as soon as I knew that I needed to talk about it, it's like Ink and Echo is the place to do it and talk with Andy and just get it out.
The most public forum you have at your disposal.
Well, I've found that's good. Mm-hmm. So, what I would like to say is,
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
Where yeah.
Jelly,
peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly. So, Andy, what, how do you feel about the fact that I shared that on the show?
Josh, I'm just so thankful for you. I'm thankful for how genuine you are. Let me go through the things that I'm thankful about you. You're genuine. Let's start there. You are authentic. You're real. You're very real. And I'm just so thankful for those things. And that's how it made me feel that you shared that right now. I think that's going to help a lot of people.
I just love that so hey, today our guest, Andy, you can say more in a minute here, but I want to encourage our listeners to go and check out our guest's work during listening, before, after, whatever.
I did. I checked it out during the interview.
During. So it's his website is Trevor, spelled the regular way, Eagleman, spelled how it sounds, .com, TrevorEagleman.com.
Trevor Eagleman.
And he's an artist and an illustrator. He's also my cousin, and we kind of grew up together to a certain age and then fell out of touch and recently reconnected. But man, I love his work.
Yeah, it's really good.
Love him as a person. He's just so different than Andy and I in our thinking, and yet super creative and like very balanced, as we say many times on the interview. Just a really balanced guy, and I really appreciate his thoughts on art and the process. And so, yeah,
Indeed.
Check out his work.
Yep. Cool.
Andy, did you have anything else before we get to our sponsor?
Yeah. I have a legitimate question that I want your thoughts on.
Okay.
For me. So I've just been thinking, so I just finished this album up. I'm waiting to get the master back. We've documented it here before. It just was not a very fun process. For the end, most of it, a lot of it. And I'm really trying to rethink my workflow, rethink things such that I can do it better. Not only make better music, but just feel better about myself afterwards. And so all that's to say, so the next thing I'm going to do is the soundtrack for your movie, of course.
Yeah.
But there's other things that I've had sort of on the table, which are to write some songs for this licensing company, and then also to do some work to create a sample library for this other company. And I'm seriously considering, and basically I told those guys like, hey, I can do this work for you after I finish my album. But I'm seriously considering actually coming back to them and saying, actually, I'm not going to do those things anymore. Because I feel like it would just prolong this feeling that I have. And what I'd really like to do with my time now is spend it trying to figure out what I need to do to feel better about myself in this whole process. And just not have the pressure on it. Because the last time I did like a work for hire licensing project where I wrote songs for a company, I didn't have a good time. I really didn't enjoy it. I liked the money I got from it. But that wasn't enough to make me like myself at the end of the day.
Right.
But I just really, so basically my question is that sound like a good idea to say no to those things? Or should I just kind of stick it out and say, oh, I'd be good? Because these things are both not lucrative, but like quote unquote good moves for me to do.
Right.
You know, like potentially financially, but maybe not. And so I'm trying to weigh that with, I just want to figure out how to have a good process again and be excited about what I do again.
Yeah.
And that seems more important to me. I don't know. What do you think?
I certainly am all for you doing whatever you can to better your own process and smoothen your workflow as far as what you want to do, and free yourself up to do that as best you can. I guess my only thought in what to tell them is what was the level of your commitment? Was there a contract or was it just verbal agreement? You know, how much would you be going back on your word, so to speak?
It was just mostly verbal stuff. Like I feel like it'd be fine to get out of it. So yeah. And yeah.
Well,
yes.
I think that's probably okay. Yeah, I was going to say if it was a fairly intense, locked into it situation that you should probably just fulfill your agreement. Right. But yeah. And I mean, you could even, well, I don't know if you need to, but just be upfront with them that you probably are not in the best place to deliver that as well as you could, or as timely, you know.
Yeah, because really what I want to do, and I realize this is like a privileged position to be in to even consider doing this, but I really want to spend some time, like we've talked about before on the show, like doing some like throwaway songs. Like just, I want to, you know, sit down for a day and put a song together for the sole purpose of like figuring some stuff out and just trying some new ideas, and then just having none of the pressure of like, no one's ever going to hear this song, I'm never going to put it out, and just kind of, you know, move on after that and just do that a little bit. And I would like to, you know, like some of these opportunities would be potentially good career-wise or whatever, but I also feel like it'd be good to get back into just being able to create more quickly. Like if I could just be really prolific this next year, I feel like that would be really good for me and just good overall.
Yeah.
And I mean, the word personal brand is really stupid and gross, but I feel like if I'm going to invest in something, it's better to invest in my own thing that I control versus someone else's licensing company or something in the long run. So I don't know. I selfishly want to, you know, tell those guys, hey, I'm not going to do this just because it'd make my life easier, but I'm still debating whether that's the right thing to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that this came up in our talk with Trevor, a similar sort of conversation as far as commission work. But if you're willing to say, or if you've talked about it, what does Megan think?
I haven't talked to her about it.
Okay.
I'll talk to her before this show
is how she'll find out.
No, I will not. I think she would be on board. I'll find out though. I should. God, I sound terrible.
Sure will. No, you're fine.
Anyway, I just want to be. I want to be a better human being. Next year, in all areas.
And it sounds like you're taking steps to do that.
Yeah, I want to. I don't want to feel bad about what I do anymore. And I don't want this. I mean, this podcast is therapy, but you know, I don't want to just come here every week and be like, "Oh, I feel really bad," because I feel very excited now. Especially with the thought of potentially dropping those projects. It's like, I especially because my album's done. I have like a runway. It's not going to come out for a while. I could potentially have another piece of work done before the next album comes out, you know?
Yeah.
If I really got my shit together and figured out now what does my best workflow and, you know, stuff like that. So we don't need to, I still need to toss it around in my head a little bit, but
sure.
I guess you can tell that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah. No, that'd be great if you did. I mean, just it seems to keep just boiling down to do it because you love it, and if you're not, not in it in the current moment, then maybe just move on for a day. But I don't know. Yeah, there's that careful balance of being productive and not being lazy. But anyway,
yeah. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated. We get to do this every week.
Please
so.
do. Right here.
Right here.
Let's hear from our sponsor.
Okay, here we go.
Well, Andy, this week, we've attracted.
Oh no!
Oh no! I thought you were giggling in the laugh background, and wow, goodness sakes, Andy, this is important. We've attracted the attention of a tech company that we're living really in the days of the future. Things are
days
coming
of
out
future past, you might say.
Yeah. Things are coming out that we would have never believed as kids actually existed, and this product, and I'll get to its name, is a portal that it's basically a doorway that you can open in time and space anywhere where you are, and it just shoots out of your phone from an application and creates a door in front of you, and through this door you can go 5 minutes into the future in the exact location that you're in. So you step through and you kind of assess the situation 5 minutes later. And here's where it can really be helpful is, Andy, I mean, what if you step through the door and your house is on fire? And it's then I mean, hopefully you don't step into the fire, but then oh, okay, in the next 5 minutes, something's going to happen to where my house starts on fire.
Watch out for fire.
So then you
run around screaming at my kids. Watch out for fire! Hey!
Yeah, tell them to look out for it.
Megan, there's fire. She's probably going to come up here.
I would love that. Yes. So then you just jump right back through the door that you opened. You can close it or open it. You just use the app. You can stay 5 minutes in the future, but then it becomes like the movie with Adam Sandler that wasn't good at all, where he has a remote control that, you can keep jumping 5 minutes ahead. Click, it was called.
Click, yes.
But anyway, back to the fire. So that's just one example, because then you can go assess the situation, save your house from burning. Let's say, what if you're using a bandsaw in the garage and you cut? Oh wait, no, that would be in the past.
So weird they'd give you that copy. That doesn't actually make sense.
Right, man. They're just. I think this technology is so forward thinking, even they haven't figured out all the quirks. Well, it'd be great if they made one that went 5 minutes backwards.
Maybe they went 5 minutes forward to hear this ad and they know that it's going wrong and they're going to go back and fix it. Is that what's going to happen?
I would hope so. And so, I mean, Andy, I just want to know if you can guess, like, maybe any other scenarios where this would come in handy.
I'm trying to think. I mean, you could certainly expand upon some sort of stock brokerage. You could potentially make some money here, right? you could go 5 minutes in the future and see some tiny incremental movements in the stock market.
Right.
You could make some serious Benjamins.
Right.
From maybe, these guys,
at a casino too. You could see what the layout of the cards is going to be, and then bet away, baby.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a great product, and they like our show, and they wanted to support us.
Of course.
They are
who wouldn't?
Called Portal. I'm just having trouble reading this. They are called Portal. Portal Adorable. That's what it is.
Adorable Portal?
Well,
or Portal Adorable?
Yeah, Portal Adorable.
What about Portable Portal? Is that what it's called?
That must be it. Portable Portal. Thank you, man. I do struggle with dyslexia, but
so someone went back in time 5 minutes now, and that's what it's called now. So just so everyone knows, that's why this sounds
right. Yeah. So this app is out now, Portable Portal, and it's normally a $5 app to create these portals, but our sponsors offering it to you for free to try it out.
Oh wow!
To try out your 5-minute better future, Andy, potentially.
Awesome. Hey, no reason not to at that price.
Right. So please visit inkinecho.com/portable portal. And now, on to our talk with Trevor Eagleman. Trevor Eagleman, my cousin, welcome to the show.
What's going on?
Sorry for all the hullabaloo
No problem.
Getting it happening.
I think we've given up on Skype this episode. As of this episode, we've given up completely on Skype.
Yeah, if any Skype CEOs are listening, we're done. Just lost 3 whole users. Trevor, how are you doing tonight? Where are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm at my home here in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
So Andy doesn't know probably anything about you, and I guess
I do not.
Our listeners know probably an equal amount about you.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just start with sort of what you do and what you would like to do.
Is it true that you're an eagle man? Are you a true eagle man?
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess to start, I just I'm not very good at like audio visual sort of stuff, just because it's like it really gets to me like anxiety wise. So I'm just like a little shaky right now.
I know the feeling. On our first couple episodes, I was putting my face in my hands and like afterwards having a panic attack, and Andy cut out some of my more.
That's what I'm going through right now.
my lesser moments. Well, here I'll answer for you, because I'm not afraid to say you're a very talented artist, both in pencil, pen, any hand drawn medium, and painting as well. And particularly lately, you have really been putting out your body of work online, which is really fun to watch come up. And before, part of the reason I wanted to have you on, I mean, one, just because I think you have an interesting outlook on life and on art and all that, but you, for the most part, it seems like kind of stay away from social media, and you're not very active online, and I actually really like that about you.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know, kind of one of the biggest drawbacks to what I do in some senses, because I tend to kind of hoard my art to myself, because I don't really rely on it for a professional, like I don't make my living off of my art. So, yeah, I tend to keep it to myself. So this past year, I've made an effort more so to push it out into the community a little bit, just so I can get a little bit of exposure, learn a little bit about self-promoting, and also just build a little confidence.
Sure.
Because it's easy to over obsess about your art when you don't have like a due date for it necessarily. Yeah. So it's really helpful to just post everything. That's kind of a phase that I'm in right now. I'm not really filtering what I do necessarily. I just kind of am throwing everything at the wall and kind of seeing what sticks. So
sure.
At this point, it's still very experimental, and just trying to put out as much work as possible and enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah, if you're not anti social media, but not really there. So where are you putting this stuff out then?
Yeah, I have a website, just my name, trevoreagleman.com, and then I've been working on pushing things out on Facebook a little bit. I try to avoid using Facebook as much as possible, but just as a platform to post my artwork, I think it can be pretty useful. So I've just been building up my website and my Facebook page kind of in tandem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as social media, did you just never really adopt it early on to begin with?
I didn't.
Man,
I was pretty late getting a cell phone.
Wait, how old are you, first of all?
I'm 25 years old. Yeah.
All right.
So, I got let's see. For a good chunk of high school, I just flat out didn't use Facebook when Facebook was really big. And then I jumped on for about a year, and then I didn't like how much I was using it pretty early on, so I jumped off for about 2 years or so. And then I'm back on it now, but I use it pretty sparingly, and that's kind of the trend that I've kind of followed with a lot of electronics I've used. Like, I used a little like clamshell flip phone for a long time, and I've been hopping back and forth between that and a smartphone. So I've kind of learned a little bit of balance, what like programs I can put on there that are like more useful than others, I guess. Less time wasting. So
yeah.
Right. I have been considering lately, truly seriously thinking about going back to a flip phone.
I recommend it. Yeah, the only thing I truly use my smartphone for is GPS.
Yeah.
Because I tend to get lost a lot.
That's one of the biggest things to keep me from getting rid of it too. Just like being in a new city or something and being able to get around. So yeah, that's my biggest thing for not getting rid of my phone.
Although I have taken trips. My most recent trip that I took up to Denver, actually, I didn't actually have Wi-Fi service on my phone, or I had Wi-Fi, but I didn't have
like data.
Like the
I didn't have
service.
data, so I couldn't use it if I wasn't. Yeah, and I stopped at the information booth on the way into Colorado and was able to manage, when I needed directions, I asked for it, and it kind of adds to the fun of not having a smartphone. It's
sure,
but I mean, I guess it's inconvenient if you're trying to do things like as optimally as possible. So,
like, where's the nearest Starbucks? Right now.
Yeah. So there are pluses and minuses to it.
But did you just have Was that fun for you to like have to ask someone for directions and stop at information?
Yeah, I enjoy that because I'm not a very outgoing person, and being in a situation that forces you to do that, for me at least, it was very beneficial.
Well, the reason I asked is because, asking for directions and going to an information booth was very normal for a long time.
Yeah.
And it seems like I was thinking the other day, I was filling up gas in my truck and I left my phone in the car and I just sat there, like leaned against my truck while it was filling up. I didn't look at anything or whatever. And I was just like, man, this is really nice. And then I was thinking, no one used to think it was nice to just sit there at the gas pump, Yeah. And no one probably thought it was fun to have to ask information or whatever. But it's like it seems like
luxury.
Yeah, or just like I don't know what to call it really, but it's just weird that it's turned the fact that we have so much technology has turned some of these mundane experiences into really nice moments. Whereas people in the 100 years ago would be like, "What? Like why do you enjoy that moment?" Maybe that's like their whole life.
Yeah, something sort of along those lines, Trevor, that I appreciate about you, especially having gotten some time with you now as an adult after not seeing you for many years, is when you're in person, you're incredibly present with whoever you're with, and you're a very intentional listener and stuff, and that is I'm going to go ahead and say pretty rare among 25-year-olds or 18 to 25, just the younger generation. I mean, I'm not saying anything that you're younger. You're 3 years younger than me. I just mean, I guess our generation. Gosh, we're so distracted, and we're generally not good listeners. And just because people are not used to interacting face to face. Anyway, that was a long thought and not really a question, but just really like that because it is rare. So you do. Well, when it comes to your artwork, so I mean, you don't have to talk about your day job, but I'll just mention you do. There is art involved, but it's not exactly the kind of art that you would like that you want to do forever. Correct?
It's. I don't see my current day job as a long-term job, but it is in the illustration field, which I enjoy. It's not the sort of stuff that I would make on my own, but sometimes that's a little bit of a blessing because I can learn skills of my trade and not be exhausted from illustration so much that I don't want to come home and work on it in my free time.
Yeah, sure.
So it's, the ideal situation, I guess you could say, is that, at least for me, I haven't pursued this so much. So I don't know how it would feel, but to actually be making a living off of your art in such a way that you can live a fairly comfortable life, that would be the ideal situation, I suppose.
Yeah.
And is that the impetus for kind of this getting yourself out there? Because you trying to move towards that?
Yeah. Definitely is, like I said, trying to get some exposure and just get comfortable with the idea of showing people my work, I guess.
Right.
And just building a portfolio. So, after I've been out of school I went through 4 years of college, graduated in 2014, and spent the last 2 years not pushing as hard as I wanted to, I guess. So part of me trying to release things to the public is so that I feel some sort of responsibility to maintain the pages. Like, I'm actually paying to have a website, so I want to, upkeep it and continually like add stuff to it and progress. So
right,
yeah. I mean, so you definitely seem productive and disciplined just as far as the sheer amount of work and the new stuff, how often it comes out. But I don't sense a, I don't know, in some people there can almost be like this panicking, needing to push and shout everything all over social media. And yours is much more quiet. It's just
there's no urgency to it. It's as I see fit.
Yeah, that's great. And so you personally, do you feel any sort of like tension or urgency to get to a point where you were, living off of your art?
No, I don't actually, because I'm living fairly comfortable now, and I'm not dissatisfied with the work that I'm putting out. I think I could be progressing faster if I was spending, my entire working life working exclusively on my personal stuff, but not entirely sure how practical that would be at this point. But there was something you said, what was it? Just in terms of the urgency that I put stuff out. Oh yeah, it's part of the process of my learning, I guess, is to see how people respond in what context of how I release things. Because I made an entire sketchbook and released it all at once, and people looked at everything and then didn't ever look at it again. And then I've been releasing things on a more like individual basis. And when you do that, I've noticed that people will actually like go and view your individual images. So part of the like, one thing I've learned from just the way that I post things is just how to like optimize how many people are actually like viewing the actual artwork.
Right. I always used to find that, I still do find that stuff kind of fun. It's really a marketing or a business mindset, but I do think it's kind of rare when an artist likes figuring that stuff out, because I think a lot of times people are just like, I just want to do my thing and I don't want to think about blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of fun. I find it fun to see the feedback of like, oh, this thing worked really well and this thing didn't work well. And it sounds like you do too. Yeah,
well, I think the business aspect of things is something you kind of have to learn how to get into it, because it's kind of daunting as it is, which is part of the reason why I don't want to fully involve myself in living off of my art just yet, is just because there's so much on the business side that I don't know yet, and having it be just like a pet project for now allows me the space to kind of fiddle around and learn what works, or what works with the way I produce things, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, so I've a question now. Just from the 20 minutes we've been talking, it seems like you're very well balanced in terms of a lot of things. Like how does that happen? No one's well balanced anymore. Why are you so well balanced? What is it?
And do you feel well balanced yourself, or, internal panic?
I think it's lack of responsibility. Honestly, like I don't have a family life, and my job is relatively low stress, so I kind of have the mental energy to actually.
But even as like a guy in high school who says, "Oh, I've been on Facebook for a year and I'm gonna get off it because this is bad for me," like high schoolers don't normally say that. It's like what's going on in that brain of yours that makes you smart? I think.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily put it like that. It's just that I try to pick up on the things that are detrimental to me, I guess. Like if something's like not working for me, I try and I don't know, man. This is a hard question.
So you're just self-aware.
I try to be as self-aware as possible.
Which maybe that goes back to the anxiety, and maybe that's how it manifests itself in a bad way.
I probably overthink things too much. So
that's I'm starting to understand you now.
It's hard to find a balance, I guess, with that.
Right.
I'm naturally a very introspective person, and it's I guess the trouble for me is in putting myself out there and
right,
interacting with people, I guess.
Yeah.
And is there any I mean, maybe not fear, but is there any thought of rejection in that, or that someone would, rip your art apart and say it's terrible, or is it just is it not quite that extreme?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a huge part of it. Like,
I mean, you mentioned earlier that you were pretty confident in the stuff you put out.
Right.
So, I mean, how does, do you care, or I guess how much do you care about what people think of your art versus how you feel about it? Because I always feel like if you feel really good about what you did, it almost doesn't matter. But that, that's easier said than done, for sure.
Yeah. I read a lot about, how to deal with that sort of conflict, but in all honesty, I haven't actually experienced it in a very
sure
defined
you should start a YouTube
way.
channel for your art.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, whatever you're doing, whatever you have done so far is working fine, and I would almost even venture to say that probably that sort of criticism won't come, or if it does, hopefully you can just sort of dismiss it because you're satisfied in your own work, and the quality of it.
Well, when you scale up, it's kind of inevitable that some criticism will come.
Right.
I'm not entirely sure how I will encounter or interact, or how I will deal with it.
React.
Yeah, if it happens, because I've kind of been in a place where I don't know. Growing up, I had a lot of natural talent, so I didn't get a lot of harsh criticism. I had a lot of constructive criticism while I was going through school, but I've never had any mean-spirited people just trying to put you down sort of criticism, at least in terms of my art. So, yeah, I don't know. I try to not let what people say or what I anticipate people thinking about my work I try not to incorporate that into how I produce it necessarily. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever have days when I guess it would be sort of the equivalent of writer's block, where you sit down to a page and just nothing will come?
I do, but part of the benefit of this being just, a fun project that I do is that when I have those days, I'm not in a rush to push it out, and I can just put it aside and work on something else. For instance, this, if you go to my site and look at the accordion fold book that I've been working on, I worked on that for a solid 2 months, every day, 4 hours a day, and then was just burnt out on it and put it aside for 6 months or so. And most recently I've picked it up again, and in the meantime I was working on other stuff and just kind of sketching and developing other ideas apart from it, and now I've come back to it. So I'm in a place where even if I do have writer's block, I can do throwaway projects and not really be too concerned about timing issues.
Dude, I'm looking at your site right now. This is cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's so detailed.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So the accordion book in particular, what is that? I mean, obviously on the site, it's kind of this continuous scrolling thing, but
I'm scrolling through it right now. It's awesome.
As a physical piece, what does it look like and how large is it?
Yeah, so it's on a Bristol board vellum 8.5 by 11 sheet, and they're landscape. So if you look close through the while you're scrolling through, you can see the subtle marks where I attached them. And I think there's 8 pages so far. And I have it set up so that I can keep adding on pages as I see fit. And
that's awesome.
That's so cool.
Part of the impetus of this project was if you look at, let's see, I think I have it labeled Havoc in my projects folder. I've been working on a series called Havoc, which is more or less a stream of conscious illustration style. Like I just put pen to paper and go and not really be too concerned about what's happening. And then this is kind of the extension of that, the more refined version of it. I think it threw a little bit, but I still am trying to keep it very lighthearted, whimsical, whatever happens kind of happens. Yeah. And also I just wanted to see kind of the progression of what I'm learning as I make it. Yeah. And so that's kind of the idea behind making it an accordion fold, is that I can continue to push the same drawing as far as I want to. And when I want it to be done, it'll be done. And I can move on to my next project.
Wait, so going back to the writer's block thing, I was just thinking, I mean, they call it writer's block because, when you're writing, you have ideas and words you put down. But, I mean, and maybe this is a stupid thing to think from a non-artistic in that way person, but can you just, like, literally grab a pencil and put it down and just draw, like, basically have nothing in mind and draw a line or a arc or something and then just see where that goes? Like, basically doodles. I'm just thinking, is there such thing as writer's block for someone
Absolutely,
who does
there is. Yeah. The problem with just making arcs and doodles is that a lot of what comes out is just utter bullshit. So when you half the time that I'm working, probably more than half, probably like 75% of the time that I'm working on this accordion book, I'm just staring at the page, trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to put down next. And I'd consider that, a form of writer's block. But,
sure, yeah.
There's always exercises that you can do just to kind of get your creative juices flowing. And some of the things that I like to do is kind of what you said, just you take a really light pencil and draw shapes and forms, kind of like a more advanced form of the sketch game, you play as a kid, where you just draw a doodle, or the doodle game, and then you make something out of it. If you you just like, I kind of just like sketch in basic shapes and forms and see if I can evolve something out of that.
Gotcha.
And then if it's something I like, I can transfer it to a bigger drawing, or I can just scrap it and move on to the next thing. So there's days where you'll work all day and nothing productive comes out of it.
I'm glad to hear that part is still there for you, because that's there for me. So
days and sometimes weeks.
Yet you don't beat yourself up about it, which is amazing to me.
It's all part of the
most
process.
Envious stuff. Yeah.
See, and that's where I get back, like, saying that you're just way too balanced for me. Like, how can you?
Andy and I are very jealous of how laid back you are, and
yeah, I don't know.
Teach us your ways.
I guess it's just my temperament, I guess.
Yeah, Andy, we need to abandon our family lives and get less responsibility, and then we'll be more comfortable. That's probably
success,
the answer. Yeah. I've noticed there is, and we talked about this in person, Trevor. there's a sort of grotesque quality, or I mean, whimsical is a good word too, because some of your stuff is definitely playful. Some of it is sort of intentionally exaggerated and grotesque, like I said, and some of it even branches into dark, fairly heavy work. And I'm just curious where that comes from, or if you even are that conscious of it, or just kind of draw what comes to you in the day of.
Well, I don't know. A lot of what I draw, since it's kind of stream of conscious, it's just a reflection of kind of just what I'm thinking at the time, or what media I happen to be consuming, or just whatever mood I'm in. So,
So what mood were you in when you drew a large lady laying down sleeping with plants sprouting out of her chest and like a cave in her belly? Like what?
Sure.
What was that mood?
Well, okay, so a lot of the images that I try to make are me trying to push myself technically and see how far I can push the bounds of what is capable, what I'm capable of doing on a 2D plane. And
Gotcha.
Part of that, I was like, if you look at the very first page, there's a lot of like framing elements, and
I'm looking.
That's actually something I added pretty late. I started kind of in the middle and worked back a little bit because I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted to start it. But the lady image is one where I was trying to do a similar thing, but make it a little more organic. And also just, I think at the time I was looking at a lot of anatomical drawings.
Gotcha.
So just, man, I don't know.
No, that's good.
Yeah, Andy, it's like saying, Andy, what's your inspiration for a song? Yeah. Like, where'd that come from?
Right. I mean, I get it.
I'm not criticizing.
But it's just funny hearing, like, it comes from a mood or a thing. It's like, well, it's this lady with things growing out of her, and it's like, I don't know how you even connect those things.
And like I said, like a section that big, like I'll spend probably 30 hours on a page. So that section will span over the course of several weeks. So it's, I don't know.
Wait, this is maybe a dumb question, but how much do you erase stuff?
The way I'm doing it is I'm doing it straight in pen as much as possible. If I need to do, if I need to do something, if I'm not entirely sure, I shouldn't say it like that. If it's something that's more technical, like if you look just to the right of the lady lying down, there's all that honeycomb stuff. I've never done anything like that before, and I wanted it to look convincing. So if there's a chance that it's not going to look convincing, I try and sketch it out ahead of time. Otherwise, I'm trying to develop my visual vocabulary in a way that I can sketch things directly onto a page without referencing references. Not well put,
gotcha.
But you get the idea.
Got it.
Are there other and I'm not necessarily looking for specific names of artists, but do you look at other people's work who work in similar mediums as you, and your mind is kind of blown by what they're able to do on a 2D plane? Or do you sometimes look at other people's work and you can kind of like reverse engineer how they got there?
I don't do a lot of reverse engineering.
Okay.
Part of the fun of art, I think, is developing your own way of doing things. And obviously I draw some inspiration from certain people.
Sure.
Some artists that come to mind is Albrecht Dürer. There's a contemporary guy, Aaron Horkey. Who does,
I know his work.
Fantastic black work.
Incredibly detailed, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's more of a thing that I've been doing more recently is looking at people who draw in a similar way that I do. That's never something that I used to do because I didn't want to have too many outside influences. Mm-hmm. Generally, what I draw on for influence tends to be audio, I guess, either music or podcasts, just because that's kind of what I consume while I'm at work, and that takes up like the majority of my thinking. Throughout each day.
I'm jealous of artists who can listen to something when they do it. I like when I'm mixing music or doing music. I'm like, I wish I could be listening to a podcast while I do this, but I can't do that.
Yeah, there are times when you can do that with the stuff that I do, and there's times that you definitely cannot. Like, sure. when you're trying to conceptualize, and it takes a lot of really deep thinking. Yeah. Then it's it's important, at least to me, to have some silence where I can think things through. But when it comes to the more intricate details, like
I'm looking at that honeycomb and I'm like, man, that sounds like so fun to just sit there and do that tiny details of the honeycomb and listen to some.
That's where you put on music. An album and just sketch away.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
So there are times for both, I guess.
Hey, this is a tangential question, but when you are listening to podcasts doing this stuff, like what are some of your favorite shows to listen to?
Yeah. All-time favorite, Dan Carlin.
Okay, yeah.
Hardcore History and Common Sense. Mm-hmm. I listened to both of those. I've listened to all that he has available on iTunes, as well as some of his backlog. But Dan Carlin I listened to. I've more recently started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
What first got me into podcasts was Radiolab. Yeah. Of course, that's the big one. Yeah. Right. Which everyone listens to.
It's either Radiolab or This American Life. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been listening to This American Life a little more recently, but I don't tend to draw information from that. Like that's more of an entertainment based one for me. But yeah, the main ones that I like draw content from and like inspire me artistically is Dan Carlin, Joe Rogan.
Wait, so that's interesting because they're less story based and more facts, history, science kind of stuff.
Well,
which is,
history kind of is story, I guess.
Well, sure, but I mean, This American Life, a lot of people look at it like, oh, this is the storytelling. Here's people and whatever, but obviously, Radiolab is a very different vibe, and Dan Carlin stuff it's more. I feel like all those shows could be taught as a lecture.
Yeah,
in a college, whereas This American Life would not.
Part of the problem with I don't like to listen to someone's creative product and then respond to that artistically. I tend to be more drawn to responding to actual life events, either things that I've experienced or things that have happened in the world or supposedly happened.
Gotcha. So you don't look at like MC Escher and say, "Oh, I want to do a weird staircase thing."
Well, sometimes. Well, see, I'll look at stuff like that just to see how he pushes, the technical boundaries of the medium. But I don't draw on it for content. When I'm trying to find content, I try to stick to more concrete things.
Gotcha.
Than what's going on in someone else's head.
That's a really interesting approach because I feel that my brain personally would never even think to do that. I usually think if I want to get inspired, the first place my mind goes is maybe a new album that I've never heard before, or one that I'm very familiar with that I know that I love. And I guess maybe in cinema that is true as well, like watching either a very I don't know, avant-garde movie or something that is unconventional, or again watching one that I'm very familiar with that I love the beats and the decisions that were made. But anyway, just drawing from I guess especially drawing from history in particular, that is a really interesting idea that I would actually like to try. I mean, granted, my main thing is not hand-drawn art, right? But yeah, it's intriguing.
Yeah, when I'm drawing from something that's a little more abstract or that's not based in reality, I try to draw it from something that has some sort of cultural significance. Like, for example, like mythologies. Like I really enjoy looking back at things like different religions that have cropped up throughout history. And I'll draw on those as if it's, historical fact. Just because it's, I don't know. I'm not wording this how I would like to, but
because I feel like what Josh and I are trying to say is, like, at least for me, when I'm creating something, I'm like, this thing made me feel a certain way, so I want to try to regurgitate that. Like, not regurgitate it in like I'm going to steal this chord progression, I'm going to steal this paragraph from a book, but it's just like I'm stealing the feeling of that thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's not what you're doing. You're kind of taking, you're like a machine that's taking in some sort of input and churns it up and turns it into something else, which is really interesting to me. Would you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. I try to draw from the source of the thing more so than the product of it, I guess.
I see. Yeah.
If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. One of my professors in school always would talk about the importance of, like, there's like a natural progression of the way things are created, but there's always that core base from which, stuff has been built off of. And if you look at that core base, you're able to create something that's more original rather than
non-derivative,
something that's derivative of someone else's work or something that came directly before it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to switch gears a little bit by proposing or putting before you two things. I just want to gauge your reaction on this. So, in terms of one day, hopefully doing this full time, if someone were to come to you now, having seen your work and been like, oh my gosh, Trevor, I love your stuff. Will you, like, draw me an album cover and I'll pay you? Would commission work be uncomfortable or daunting to you, or have you done some of that already? So that's the first of two things. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I have done a little bit of commission work, and the problem that I have with it is just how unstable and unpredictable it is.
Yeah.
And I suppose that would be a good place to start, but I'm not in a place where I need to rely on that. So why sacrifice my creative freedom when I don't have to? Because I'm not hurting financially, so I'm not pushing to make things at other people's request.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I would do it I would say, but hesitantly. I tend to look at, I've been approached and turned down several offers just because that either the person who's asking me is inexperienced or I'm just not, I would rather work on my own stuff, you know?
Not wanting to cater to someone else's requests and demands.
Yeah, that tends to take priority is whether or not I want to spend my time and effort working on someone else's idea rather than my own. And generally it falls on my own. So
it's so funny to me that it seems like you've stumbled upon something which I try to reassure myself of and tell other people, which is just that one, I mean, I know you're doing some steps toward doing this for a living, but you shouldn't have that be the focus of your art, which it sounds like you have a very solid grasp on. And I said one, but I feel like that was all I was going to say, so I don't actually have a number two. But just just doing it because you want to do it, and you're not bastardizing it to make money. And I don't know. That's a simple thought, but I think there's so many things that make that more complicated for people, especially when they want to do it for a living. But so I don't want to. I want you to get to your second question, Josh. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I like your answer though, Trevor, because I feel like, I mean, personally, I've had experiences where either I've been commissioned to do something and regretted it, or commissioned someone who was not quite right for the job and then again regretted it. But there's sort of a weird excitement when it seems like there's motion happening, and of course the prospect of making a little extra money is always nice, and that someone likes your work enough to pay you for it. But at least so far, there's almost always been a sort of compromise. Nobody's super happy with the end product, at least in the few things I've been involved with. And so I don't know. That's just
no, I totally get that. For me, it's fear of your work being undervalued or someone not valuing your work as much as you do. And I don't have enough exposure. I'm not, high caliber enough that I'm attracting, big clients. So it's.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people would say, "Oh, someone wants to pay me anything to do this? Like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that in a heartbeat." And it's cool that you seem to have, once again, been well adjusted and known from the get-go that, maybe that's not how I should do this.
From the get-go. Like, okay. I've been commissioned and done commissioned work and been underpaid and or underappreciated for it. And I've more or less learned from that mistake. Like I hopefully am not gonna repeat that in the future, but
sure.
Just from the few commissions that I have accepted and involved myself in, the reward was nowhere near what I would have gained from just, developing my own stuff.
Sure.
So,
And so on another side of that, what about someone approaching you just purely to buy a piece of your work and either, asking what you think it's worth, or maybe them offering a number? Like, are you open to that idea, or, are you willing to part with pieces, or?
Man, I haven't honestly thought through that too much. A lot of the work that I've been doing is trying to make it as low stress as possible so that it vamps up the creativity of it. And part of that is not worrying about, what media is going to be used or how to present it. So a lot of the work I've been doing in the past year is just on 8.5 by 11 flimsy letter paper, in a way that's probably not great to sell to someone as an original. I would be open to selling copies, I guess.
Gotcha.
but I haven't put out the effort to actually make those prints, order those prints. I haven't noticed a demand for that in such a way that I would, necessitate needing those prints to actually sell to people. So I don't know.
Would you ever do an art show, even if stuff was not for sale, but just like a large display of a big body of your work?
Yeah, I would. I did a collaborative project back in February where I did an art show, which wasn't exclusively my work, but I really enjoyed the presentation of it. And the work that I've been working on for my personal portfolio is pretty small, but there's so much of it that I'm getting to a point where I could display it if I wanted to. And yeah, I would be open to that. I'm not entirely satisfied with where it's at the moment.
Gotcha.
I would want to finish my accordion fold book probably before I would want to display it, and I would probably display the work as a progression. As part of my thesis, I guess, for the show, because that's kind of the thought process that I've gone through.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, I'm open to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And, I enjoy doing that.
Right.
The brief burst of like social interaction where I'm out presenting my work is kind of nice. Apart from the like posting and waiting online for each individual project.
Right. Yeah, there's something definitely unique about being there in person as people are looking at your work, and maybe a little nerve-wracking, but also kinda awesome.
No, not really.
Okay.
That's one of the things that I find I'm pretty good at is in-person interactions. I'm very comfortable in, especially when they're one-on-one. And presenting when I have a goal or like a directive, when I'm talking about my work, I suppose in person I can go on for ages. But I don't know, like you get me in front of a camera or microphone and it's a different story. So
yeah, it's a very different thing. It's cold and impersonal.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've had you on for a while, so we can let you go in a minute. I guess the last thing I'll ask, is there a quote unquote art scene in Lawrence, Kansas? Or, do you see and interact with other artists around the city?
Yeah, there's a huge art scene.
Nice.
Lawrence is one of the more artsy small towns in the United States. Definitely in Kansas. There's not too many art scenes in Kansas.
Sure.
But I try to involve myself as much as possible. I will go to public drawing events. They have art walks where they open up the galleries and you can go around and visit, studios. And I've displayed my work in 2 of them, not on a grand scale, just like individual submissions of pieces. But I don't know. I suppose I could ramp up my involvement, but I do it at a level where I can recognize individuals and interact with them. Like I meet the individual artists and whatnot.
Yeah.
But not so much that I'm like best buds with
everyone. Sure.
Like I would love to be part of a larger art collective here in town. But as for now, I'm kind of more isolated with my work.
Gotcha.
Does that collective exist, or would you have to go somewhere else to experience that?
There are groups of artists that meet regularly. There are various communities of artists. I haven't. I've stumbled in on some of them, but never fully involved myself in them, I guess. So I kind of come and go as I please, and my loyalties don't lie specifically with any one group.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I have one last question for you. I want to know if you've ever drawn an Eagleman.
Andy's
do you love
the one
that
who
question,
asks
Josh?
the dumb questions on this show.
Man, I can't say I have, honestly.
Okay.
Great. It's too, other than like the barest minimal version of it, I don't know. Like I've grown up with it. It's part of me, so it doesn't feel that creative to do so. I don't know. It's just, I don't know, not that stimulating to animate my own last name.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
When phrased the way that Andy is pronouncing it, it makes me think of Birdman on Rick and Morty, or Bird Person.
Yep.
That's what his name is.
Yes.
Anyway. Well, Trevor, this has been great and truly interesting and fascinating to me. So thank you for coming on. And
thanks for having me. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it a lot.
And you're good on the mic, man. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. That's great.
No, I'm building confidence.
Good.
That's part of the fun of doing this, is that, it's a new experience for me, and I like trying to push my boundaries, however uncomfortable it is for me. But
once again, super well adjusted. I'm jealous. All right. Well, thanks, Trevor.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Josh, that's a good cousin you got there.
It is one of several good ones.
That's good.
But yeah, man, second person named Trevor on this show.
First person with the correct spelling.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, that was great talk. I don't have much else other than, again, I want people to go look at his work, and I want people to support this show on Patreon, because...
Patreon.com/Inkinecho.
Because it's great, and then we'll say your name, potentially, and have fun about it, and you'll get extra stuff.
And I'll hang out with you there. Like I said at the beginning, I'm having fun. There's an iPhone app, and I upload dumb little recordings that I put up there, and then Dave Montel will come on and be incredibly sarcastic about it, and I will be the same back, and it's great. It's a good place to be.
It's just a good time.
Yeah, great time, I'd say. So this has been the Inkinecho podcast. Josh, where's Matthew McConaughey?
I feel like he may be making a comeback at some point, but
not now.
Yeah, just not quite ready for the role.
Well, whenever's the right time. We don't want to pressure him or anything.
Josh, are you recording now? Oh, Matthew, hey, I didn't hear you.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's just, I was shooting a commercial for Lone Star, you know what that is? Started this beer, it's big in Texas, and yeah, I've heard of that. They're kind of like Shiner Bock. No, Josh, they're definitely...
Kind of like Yingling?
Oh my gosh, Andy. Just please stop naming other beers, because there's really only one, and it's Lone Star, and that's the one. So what y'all doing? You got another show going today, or just sort of hanging out in front of the mic?
Yeah, we had a little Josh's cousin was on to talk about his art. Do you do any art, Matthew?
Well, shoot, every day when I wake up and just be Matthew. I mean, that's sort of a work of art in and of itself,
Yeah, but, totally.
Well, shoot, good to see you guys, and hope shows. I love jumping in just on the mic, like every once in a while. It's just
please, anytime, Matthew.
Well,
Folks, this has been another Ink and Echo over here for the boys, the good boys, I think they call them. And
I'm done.
yeah.
I thought that went well.
Yeah, that's great.